All right, everybody. Hello. Welcome to the presentation. Thank you so much for being here. Now we're live on those formats. Let's push that little button there. Now we're live on our podcast. And here we go. Citizen of Heaven. There we go. That's it. That's what we are. Citizens of Heaven. All right, everybody. Listen, I appreciate everybody being here. Happy Friday to you, wherever you are. Hopefully you're having a fantastic Friday. It was a beautiful day today here in Louisville, Kentucky. Really, it was a great day. The weather was unbelievable, which was nice. I think I'm ready for spring, but I'm not ready for the constant threat of tornadoes. We always get it here in Kentucky, or every time, it's a little bit of clouds and they're screaming tornadoes. That's just the way it goes. I don't know why they do it, but well, we all know why they do it. But nonetheless, here we are. Happy Friday to you. And tonight is a very cool show. Very, very cool, fun, exciting show. Trolls, I won't pay attention to you on TikTok. I don't pay attention to pestilent children. We are going to have a presentation tonight that's going to focus on werewolves. It is a Paranormal Friday, the only night of the week. So just take a chill pill, where we actually have our show that's on the paranormal. And, it's kind of like, gosh, we have, yep, sure do. Yep. So we have shows 6 days a week, and only one in an hour and a half or so of that whole entire week do we talk about the paranormal. The rest of the time, we are here for Bible study. We are here for night prayer. So that's what we do. So only one night a week. That's all. Okay. Yeah, I'm excited. So tonight we're gonna do a presentation on historical cases where people absolutely believe that they were attacked by werewolves. Now, I did a lot of investigation on this, and I have my own personal opinion. Again, folks, listen, guys, stop being critical. Just enjoy it. I mean, really, do we have to be critical of everything? I mean, it's so cynical these days, so cynical. Just relax. I mean, go drink a wine cooler. Go drink a wine cooler if you need to. It's okay. It's all entertainment. It's just fun. We're just having a Paranormal Friday night where we just chill. It's it. That's it. We don't take everything so seriously. It's going to be okay. Yeah, we'll drink some apple juice. Well, see, I say a wine cooler because I don't drink. And if I drink a wine cooler, I'd be completely intoxicated. That would be it for me, because I don't drink. The only time I ever drink is at Mass, and I really don't like that. I just not a fan. I've never been a fan of alcohol. Just don't like it. So that's just me. That's my own personal opinion. Okay, everybody, if you want to go to my website, you can certainly do so. It's Bishop James Long. Follow that up with a .com. BishopJamesLong.com. Make sure, if you would please, go to where it says the books. Now, I've got a lot of books there, and I want you to purchase every one of them. Every single one of them. Purchase all the books. They're great books. You got a paranormal training manual, the 7 archangels. I mean, there's some really the parables. So I want you to go and purchase all those books, every single one of them. Every one of them, all of them. Sure. BishopJamesLong.com. Click on the books link. No. Someone is sending me a very rude message on Messenger, imagine. For those of you who are trolling, 100% of the profits from the book goes to an orphanage that we're partnering with. So what are you doing for orphanage? Oh, that's right, nothing. Got it. That's cool. Okay. 100% of the profits goes to the MKS Kids Foundation. And the MKS Kids Foundation is an orphanage that we are partnering with. We are absolutely helping changing their lives, and we appreciate our community members helping and stepping up and really, really doing some amazing things. These are my books. It's my work. And when you write a book, you have every right to receive as much money as you can possibly make. Every author does it. That's their right. It is their work. Just like when you go to work and you put in your 40 hours, you deserve a paycheck. When an author writes a book in the real world, the grown-up world, they get paid for their work. That's called being a grown-up. Our community has decided to give the funds to the MKS Kids Foundation. I think that's pretty cool. So anyway, and also if you go to my site, Bishop James Long, followthat.com, click on the podcast link there too. All the podcasts are up there. So that's for you. The Bible studies are up there. The meditations that we do, prayerful meditations on Wednesday, that's there for you. Sacred Division. Well, it depends on which book you're referring to. There are several books up there. So again, if you just go click on the books link, you'll find them. It's all there for you. It's all there. And then, of course, later on tonight, oh yeah, right. Well, Judy Ann, I'm not allowed to make any money. So that's the thing. The people can't actually understand that, when you write a book, as if you're an author, you're supposed to be able to receive the funds for it. But of course, that's why I waited for a little bit, just because I knew the trolls would say something. It was like, okay, I'll give them a little bit of time. And of course, they fell right into the trap because, they're trolls. That's why immediately I had to let them know that 100% of the profit goes to MKS Kids Foundation. Yes, but you don't work. I don't really. So my life. Well, that's interesting. Do you know that I actually have a master's of education? Do you know I actually teach English? No, you probably don't know that, do you? No. But you did get your attention that you wanted. Do you feel better? Do you feel better about that? Do you need a little bottle? A little blankie? Go sit in the kids' table. This is an adult show. All right. It's already started on TikTok. And people want me to prove the paranormal exists. All you got to do is look at the chat. Look at the chat. It's kind of crazy. So it's amazing how people think that they know my life. You don't know anything about me. Nothing. You know about what I present on screen. But you don't know my life. Not at all. There we go. That's it. That's a great thing. Actually, it's pretty good. Okay, hold on. Let me do this before we do this. Inevitably, we're going to have to turn the sub chat on because the trolls are coming in because they haven't had their bottle yet. Okay, here you go, trolls. I've been practicing just for you trolls. Okay. You don't like me, or you don't blah, 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 or blah, 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 or you don't like blah, blah, or you don't like my eyes, or you don't like whatever. No. Do you need a Kleenex? In other words, I don't care what you have to say. Not at all. I remind every single person who's here, every person, never accept criticism from someone that you would not go to for advice. Never. So the trolls are doing this because that's what they do. They're trolling clergy on a Friday night. I still think that's funny. I think that's pretty lame. I mean, I'm clergy and you're trolling clergy on a Friday night. You got a life. I mean, look out. Woo! You're party time at your place right now. That's party time. I mean, seriously, come on. It's like, really? You're going to troll clergy on a Friday night? Whew. We got to watch out for you. My goodness gracious. That's yeah. But anyway, a lot of people, absolutely, Jeffrey. Absolutely. Yeah. You can absolutely confess to Christ 100%. There's a lot of people that like to be very rude and nasty. Well, let me just say this to you as an exorcist. I will tell you that they are demonically oppressed. Plain and simple. Demonically oppressed. A person who purposely uses their words to hurt other people, you don't realize that the devil has already beaten you. And he has. That's real talk. Absolutely. Because a person who truly has the Holy Spirit within their heart, they don't troll other people. They don't. A person who truly has the Holy Spirit within their heart, they would not use their words to hurt other people. They would use their words to lift people up. So I'm telling you right now, those of you that continue to troll, Matthew chapter 7, verse 2 says you'll be judged in the same way you judge others. So I try to help as many people as I can to say, you know, you know what trolling is. But again, a person who truly has the Holy Spirit within their heart, they don't troll another human being. They just don't. And so trolling is a symptom of demonic influence. And so my advice to all of those who continue to troll is the clock is ticking. You're not guaranteed tomorrow, but you are guaranteed eternity, one place or the other. Trolling is when you come in and use your words to try to hurt another person, and then you sit back and watch. So like a person comes in and says something really mean, and then they just want to get a reaction out of that person. That's sadistic. That's sadism. Sadism is when you try to hurt someone and you sit back and you enjoy it. That's sadistic. And the fact is we are normalizing abnormal behavior. So that in our culture today, can you be redeemed? Yes, stop doing it. If you're doing it, you need to stop doing it. None of us know that if we're going to be here tomorrow. None of us. But we are going to be guaranteed an eternal life. We don't do top politics here. So anyway, folks, listen, I can already tell it's going to be bad, and I'm not going to put up with it tonight. So sub chat is turned on because of the trolling on TikTok already. I did try, everybody. I tried. So sub chat is now turned on, and that's the way it's going to be because people just can't behave on TikTok. They just can't. So we put a stop to it. Call me a fake bishop, call me whatever you want. I don't care. Don't care. I think the bigger problem is, why does a bishop have to turn chat off only to subscribers? That should be the biggest issue. Okay, but everybody else, that's the way it goes. Tonight, we are going to have a fun conversation and a lecture about werewolves. So here's what I want you to do. I want you just to sit back, relax, and enjoy this presentation. Yeah, it's not digital copy. Yeah, I don't have any digital copies of it. Yeah. So, okay. Tonight, I'm going to take you into the shadows of history, to a place haunted by a creature that is so terrifying, inexplicable. It has left an indelible mark on the very soul of a small Scandinavian. Well, thank you, Corinne. Thank you very much. A small Scandinavian village. This is the story of Blackwood and the beast that stalked its darkest nights. It's a living nightmare that turned once very peaceful lives into whispers of terror and despair. This story is true. Now, what attacked this village? There's debate. But the story itself that I'm about to share with you is 100% true. Because tonight we're going to step into the woods where shadows breathe and where the line between myth and reality is blurred beyond recognition. So let's talk a little bit about the peace before the storm. Blackwood was a humble little village. It was nestled amid towering pine trees and thick forest. The villagers, they were simple folk. They were fishermen, hunters, farmers, and their lives depended on the land and the seasons. They knew the animals very well in that area. Remember, they were hunters, so they knew the land inside and out. But beneath the surface of daily life, something ancient stirred. The villagers had long whispered stories of spirits and shadows, but they thought those tales belonged to a forgotten past. That was until the autumn of 1888. Testimony from Lars Peterson. He was an elderly man. He spoke at a local history gathering, and he said, I remember sitting by the fire, hearing stories from my grandfather. He warned us about the woods, saying they hid things we shouldn't disturb, but we never believed until that year. Now, Lars recounted how one crisp autumn evening, strange things began to happen, things that would shatter their innocence forever. So in early September, farmers like Stephen Larson started noticing unusual signs. Livestock had vanished. Horses, sheep, cattle, always in the dead of night. Sven Larson said, one morning I went out to feed the animals and they were gone. In their place, there were large footprints, larger than any wolf, claw marks, deep gouges in the earth. I showed them to the village constable, Jen Manston. Sven's voice also said that I told Jens, this isn't normal. These tracks, they're too big, they're too strange, and the marks, they look intentional, like something hunting. He just shrugged and said it was wolves. So the rumors began to spread, and the villagers whispered about curses and spirits, beasts from the deepest nightmares. There was testimony from Greta Holmes. She was a young woman who had a close encounter. She said, one evening I was walking home along the forest edge and I saw it standing there in the shadows, its eyes glowing bright amber like fire. I froze, too afraid to move, and it disappeared in the trees. Greta later told her story to her brother, who shared it with the local newspaper, the Blackwood Gazette. Greta, who also said in an interview, I saw it with my own eyes. It was huge. It was bigger than a wolf. Dark, shaggy coat. Its eyes, they looked right into mine like they knew I was afraid. Her story actually made headlines, but it also drew ridicule from skeptics. Still, many people believed her, especially after other sightings emerged. Then tragedy struck. Eric Bergstrom, he was a 12-year-old boy. He went missing near the woods. His mother, Ingrid, told her story directly to the local sheriff, Carl Jensen. And this is on recorded interview, said he was playing with friends near the riverbank. I called him to come home for supper. He didn't answer. I went looking, calling his name. When I finally found him, it was the worst thing I've ever seen. This is the quote that she said. His body was torn apart. Deep cuts, broken bones, blood was everywhere. The police said it was an animal attack, but I knew it was something else. Jens Madsen, the police chief, later recalled, we examined the scene. The wounds were savage, claw marks, bites, but no normal animal could do that. I told the villagers it was probably a large wolf or a wild dog, but deep down, I knew it was something much worse. Jens later confided in a fellow officer, said, I saw the footprints, like a man's, but with claws. So this account spread through the villages and the regional newspapers. It was fueling the growing panic everywhere. Witnesses actually described the creature in vivid detail. Many told their stories to families, friends, reporters, often under the cover of darkness for fear. There was testimony from Maria Peterson, who was a farmer's wife. She shared during a village gathering and later to a local historian. The local historian wrote that she said, that night I was sitting by the fire when I saw it, standing at the edge of the field, tall, dark, with fur, looked oily, matted, its eyes glowing with embers of dying fire. I called my husband over, but he thought I was dreaming. Maria's story was actually published in the Blackwood Gazette, accompanied by sketches from villagers who dared approach her. And then another vivid account comes from Olaf Madston. He was a seasoned hunter, and he actually shared this with the police. He said, I tracked it to the woods for days. I told the police. He even shot at it once and missed. It was 2 legs, taller than a man, claws like knives. Its eyes were not normal. They glowed. And then Olaf's account was shared with the police, who dismissed it as a wild animal. But Olaf said it's not an animal. He says, it feels like it's cursed, something evil. Another witness, Johan Eriksson, who narrowly escaped an attack, told his mom and a local detective. It was like a nightmare. His eyes were burning, fur black as the night. It lunged at him. He ran screaming and told the police, but they said that he was seeing imaginary things. So this is what happened on October 31st, 1888, Halloween night. So the villagers, they were already gripped with terror. They armed themselves. They entered the woods. They were determined to confront this nightmare. Their stories of that night are told around fires and even in hushed voices. Testimony from Lars Johansson, a farmer who participated in the patrol, stated that they moved quietly, torches flickering, and suddenly from the darkness it was upon us. This monstrous thing, snarling and clawing. They shouted to others. They used their weapon, but it was like trying to shoot into a shadow, they said. And Lars told the Blackwood Gazette it was taller than a man with eyes that burnt like hellfire, is his words. His fur was black and matted. And then young Johan Eriksson, who was lucky to escape, told his mom that it was like a beast from hell. Thank you. So the creature disappeared into the night, leaving behind a trail of blood, broken branches, a lingering sense of dread. The creature's attack, it continued sporadically through the winter of 1888 to 1889. Some villagers confided in their families and others in their church, and many in the newspapers. There was a Reverend Anders. He held a prayer service, and he stated to the local paper there that people came trembling, whispering about the beast. I told him it was evil, like a demon or cursed spirit. He urged prayer. Local newspaper articles detailed the sightings, describing what they saw: enormous footprints, mutilated animals, fueling hysteria. So a visiting naturalist, his name was Dr. Eric Stevenson, examined some of the footprints and even the carcasses. And what he stated was the tracks are unlikely any known animal, massive, had claw marks, suggests a creature of immense strength. Whatever it was not natural. Many people at this time argued that it was Bigfoot. I don't know. Thank you. Some villagers believed that the creature was a cursed soul, a human transformed by dark magic, or an ancient spirit. So by early 1889, the attacks stopped. They just stopped. No more victims, no more signs of the beast. Some argue that it was unalive during a last-ditch hunt, but yet there was no body that was discovered. Others believe it just retreated into the shadows. Olav Mattsson, he was the elder hunter, shared years later. This was recorded in a private journal. I saw it once more late one night. Its eyes, those glowing orbs, and I believe it was more than just an animal. It was a cursed entity, a demon. So decades later, stories of the Blackwood creature still circulate. And some say that it lurks, watching from the woods. Others say it was a one-time terror, forever gone. There was a local woman there. Her name was Ingrid. And she says, I still hear that dreadful howl at moonlit night. Sometimes I see eyes watching from the trees. So the truth is, it remains hidden. Something too dark, too primal for us to fully grasp. But in the end, the villagers' stories, it reminds us that some shadows are eternal. So when you venture into the dark forest, especially where legends breathe, remember Blackwood, they don't know why it stopped. They have no clue. But I mean, their livestock were being slaughtered. And obviously, when you're a farmer, your livestock is your bread and butter. It just stopped. Still, even to this day, there's no explanation for it. This next story that I want to share with you of a alleged perhaps a werewolf story, maybe Bigfoot, I don't know. But imagine a village bathed in, bathed in sunlight. Crops, we're in the field. Children, they play in the woods and the fields as well. Life seems normal. But beneath this peaceful surface, something dark stirs. You can feel it in the air, the weight of unseen eyes, silent presence of something evil. See, by day, the villagers move about, but there is an unspoken rule in this village, or there was. Keep quiet, stay inside before the sunset. Do not attract attention. Because when the lights begin to fade, that's when the true nightmare begins. So tonight we're going to take you into that world where the calm of day is wonderful, but it's a lie. The darkness hides monsters so terrifying that no one dares to even step outside at night. This is the story of the Werewolf of Bedburg. This is a terrifying case. When you really go into a deep, I think everybody who knows about, who study werewolves and things of this nature, the Bedburg is one of the things, it was terrifying. This was in 1589. And I'm going to read a couple of things here on this. This is really one of the most terrifying, unexplained events. This is where, in the bright sunlit hours, the village is bustling. Farmers labor in the fields, their hands rough, they're calloused, their face sunburned. Women hang laundry, children chase each other. Seemingly a safe little town, little village. But the villagers move quickly, their eyes flickering to the shadows as they see work. They speak softly, almost nervously, because they know the truth. Something is watching. So the woods are not just trees. They are what they believe is a gateway to chaos. The animals are restless. They're skittish. Birds suddenly fall silent. And as the sun begins to dip down, the villagers start to feel an urgent pressure. Thank you. An instinct, a primal warning, warning them to hurry. So they rush inside their homes, locking doors with heavy iron-bound locks. Windows are shuttered, curtains drawn tight. Inside, the air feels thick, oppressive, like the walls themselves are kind of holding back a terrible secret. And as soon as the sun starts to set, everyone rushes inside. This is Frau Helga said. She said, they didn't go after dark. No matter how urgent, the force is alive, waiting, hungry. The monsters are out there. So in the fading light, the village becomes a ghost town. Shadows stretch, twist across the walls. So as the last rays of sunlight vanish, the atmosphere changes. Thank you. The sky turns a crimson color, like blood spilled across the horizon. The winds pick up. They described it as an icy chill. It's an unnatural cold that, kind of bites through your skin. So the villagers huddled inside, trembling, clutching their loved ones, clutching whatever they can, praying, whispering, listening. Outside, the woods seemed to come alive. And then the howling begins. It was described as a chorus of unearthly sounds, long wails, mournful wails, growls, shrills. Nobody goes outside. Once it's dark, that's it. No one dares to even go to the outhouse. The darkness, it becomes a predator. Says, I've never seen anything like it. Says a village, Thomas, at night, the whole world feels like it's holding its breath. You can hear the monsters out there. So the village transforms into a prison of shadows. Doors are locked, windows are barred. Every crack is sealed tight. Every candle, torch burning low. So the villagers kind of just sit in silence, listening to the sounds of the dark, waiting for the monsters. Frau Helga had stated that you don't go outside at night. If you do, they'll find you. They are out there, they're watching, they're waiting. So the night is a living, breathing nightmare, an endless, dark abyss. And suddenly the air turns heavy, thick with dread, and a shiver in every spine. The first low growls ripples through the village. It starts out as a deep guttural growl that vibrates to the bones. People start to rush, desperate panic, doors slammed shut, windows barred. The villagers' faces are pale. Each one is aware of what's outside. So children cling to their moms, trembling. Men and women barricade every entry. So the village really becomes now a trap. The walls are closing in, shadows creeping in from every corner, every crack in the shuttered windows. And what's scary is this is a historical event. These people were legitimately terrified. And in those final moments, the sky darkens even further. Clouds begin to roll in, and the last light flickers, faint and fragile, before it's swallowed by the night. They would describe as the air turning icy, oppressive silence, only by the howling. Everything else is quiet. Even the animals, the livestock, everything just stops. And then the sounds of the night monsters, not just the howling, other screaming. So every heartbeat pounds in their ears. So they know that once the sun disappears, the monsters are going to come. And they will claw through the walls, rip their doors, tear apart every being of their safety. So at this time, fear grips every villager. So when the moon rises, everything becomes a scene from hell. The shadows seem to move on their own. The air is thick with a smell of damp earth or rot. Some described it as like metallic blood. So the villagers stay quiet. They avoid the outside, the well. They will not go fetch water. They stay away from the outside. The sounds are deafening, as described. Snarls and growls, cracking of bones. Sometimes they would hear claw marks on wood and even stone. A scream pierces the night. Unfortunately, Jacob had said he was a villager, and he said he heard his brother scream in the yard, and then silence, and he didn't go out. The next morning, they found him unalived. So as night deepens, the entire village becomes a fortress, and everyone huddles in the dark of their homes. This is they described as sometimes claws would scrape against the wall. Windows shatter under the force of its strikes. And the beast, they describe like growling like thunder. Frau Helga also said she did see it standing outside her window. It was tall, covered in dark fur, eyes that burnt with hatred. She was paralyzed with fear. And the villagers hear it prowling and sniffing, searching for prey. So one night, the villagers had enough. And a group of villagers armed with torches, pitchforks, and axes ventured into the woods, desperate to confront the beast, because they had had enough. They had had enough of everybody being so terrified. I mean, they would describe the forest as being, alive with unseen movement, twigs snapping, something running through the forest. You could hear the leaves. Johann was one of the individuals had put in their diary, suddenly from the shadows, they saw a massive, terrifying creature. The fur was black, eyes glowing like hot coals. And even after dawn, It would disappear, and even after dawn, the horror lingers. Villagers whisper of seeing the creature lurking at the edge of the woods. Children refuse to even go outside. So people sleep with weapons at their side. In 1600, a farmer swore he saw a massive wolf-like shape watching him from the woods. Its eyes glowed red. In 1920, a woodsman told of a tall, hairy figure moving swiftly through the shadows, its face like twisted in a snarl. And when he tried to follow, it disappeared. It just left a growl. Even today, hikers, and they report strange, terrifying encounters. So the legend persists because the shadow still hides something primal, something evil, something that they cannot explain. I want to share this with you about this case a little bit deeper on the werewolf of Bedburg. And this is a fascinating article. This is by CNET. And I wanted to share what I saw here on this, what they wrote up. Really fascinating. One of the most famous werewolf cases is Peter Stump, a wealthy farmer. He was accused of being a serial unaliver, cannibal, and a werewolf in Rhineland in 1589. So in the years preceding Stump's arrest, the country town of Bedburg had been plagued with horrors. It started with dead and mutilated cattle, but bodies of townsfolk were also soon found in the fields. And initially, it was thought that the wolves or wolf was attacking, but the creature evaded capture. And then finally, in 1589, a hunting party managed to corner a wolf with its hounds. And when the humans approached, they saw, according to reports, not a wolf at all. Instead, the hounds had cornered Stump. And the most damning piece of evidence was that Stump's left hand had been lopped off. The wolf had had its left forepaw cut off. So since wolf and man had the same injury, wolf and man must be one and the same. So they actually cut the paw off the wolf. And Stump, interestingly enough, came up with his left hand being gone. Now, Stump actually confessed, but it's questionable. He had been subjected to torture, including the rack. He had said he made a pact with the devil when he was 12. He'd been given a magic belt, which allowed him to turn into a wolf. He confessed to unaliving 14 children, 2 pregnant women. He cannibalized and ravished their bodies, and he unalived his own son and did terrible things. He was sentenced to die in the most awful manner. He was fixed to a breaking wheel and had flesh torn from his body with red-hot pincers. His limbs were broken with the blunt side of an axe so that he might not rise from the grave. And he was beheaded. His head was placed on a pole with the figures of a breaking wheel on the wolf on it as a warning to others. His daughter and mistress were also flayed and unalived. It is not known whether the crimes were truly committed by Stump. At the time, the region was deeply affected by the Cologne War, and Stump was a Protestant convert, and the region had been seized by the Catholics in 1857. His death was to Catholics' advantage, as his considerable wealth would fall to them. In addition, Stump's death could have served as a strong warning to the other Protestants. That is a true story. That is, when you read this, you got to think, there's no way. This can't be real. It's real. Yeah, it's and that's nothing. We're just starting. Some of these cases you can easily explain, I think, but there are others that maybe not so much. Thank you. There was this case here, the Livonian werewolf. I don't understand it. So werewolf confession. The werewolf confessions could be quite peculiar. Thank you very much. Take thieves of Klottenbrunn. Living in Swedish Slavonia in the 17th century, Thies was widely believed among his neighbors to be a werewolf who had dealings with the devil. And local authorities didn't much care. After all, Thies was in his 80s. What harm could he possibly do? But when they brought him in for questioning on an unrelated matter in 1691, he voluntarily began divulging details of werewolf lifestyle, although with many inconsistencies. But according to his account, Thies had given up being a werewolf 10 years prior to his appearance before the judges in 1691. Before that, he and other werewolves would change into wolves on St. Lucia's Day, Pentecost, and Midsummer Night by donning magical wolf pelts, although he later changed his story and said they just stripped naked and turned into wolves. They would then maraud the countryside, unaliving farm animals, cooking and eating them. And when asked how wolves cooked meat, he declared they were still human, not wolves. Anyway, his story only grew stranger. He claimed that werewolves were the agents of God and would travel to hell to battle the devil and his witches, bringing back grain and livestock the witches had stolen. In fact, he said that he had done so just one earlier, contradicting his earlier claim of having renounced it. So when it was revealed that Thies was not a devout Lutheran and indeed practiced a form of folk magic involving charms and blessings, the judges ordered Thies flogged and exiled. What happened to the strange chap really is unknown. But this is a true story. There's another very interesting story. It's the Wolf of Ansbach. So in 1685, a wolf or werewolf was terrorizing and unaliving humans in the town of Neuss in the Principality of Ansbach in what is now Germany. Now, that was not unusual, but the town's chief magistrate, Michael Leicht, had just passed away. He was a cruel, unpopular man, and it was said that the wolf visited his residence. So it was only a small leap for people to claim that the wolf was Leicht, returning as a werewolf for his sins. So the wolf's death was not terribly uneventful or eventful. The people organized a hunt, chased the wolf into a well, and unalived it. What they did with its body was pretty macabre. They paraded it through the streets, then prepared it for display. And they cut off its muzzle, dressed it in human clothes, and placed a wig on its head and a mask on its face so that it resembled Leicht. Then they actually hung the body there from a gibbet so that everyone might enjoy the sight. This is a true story. After some time, the wolf was removed, his corpse preserved and put on a permanent display, thank you, at a local museum. Yeah, this is like, what in the heck? Now, I want to talk a little bit about this case here. This is the true tale of the Black Shuck and Church attack. This is a crazy, crazy story. And allegedly this is true. But listen to this. In the bright light of day, the village of Blytheborough is quiet and peaceful. The air is warm, with a little scent of dew still lingering on the grass, and a gentle hum of life. Children laughing, farmers tending to their fields, the church bell ringing softly at noon. Everything is normal. The sky is a beautiful blue, have fluffy clouds drifting lazily in the sky. Life is good. The smell of bread baking from the village bakery wafts over the cobblestone streets. So the sunlight casts long shadows beneath the ancient oak trees. Children play outside, their voices ringing clear, laughter, shouts, squeals of delight as they chase each other through the fields full of wildflowers. The air just feels alive. It's full of warmth and safety and innocence. People work, they rest, they share their day, but they're unaware of the lurking darkness just beyond the tree line. But as the sun begins to dip behind the horizon, the atmosphere changes. A subtle shift in the wind. The air grows colder, sharper. The sweet scent of flowers is replaced by a hint of decay. The vibrant colors of the day It fade into dusky hues. Purple shadows creeping across the land. So the sky turns blood red. Clouds darken. The wind picks up, carrying a chilling whisper. Every cottage and house, the villagers begin to lock their doors, double bolt their windows, draw heavy curtains across the glass. The sharp clang of metals, gates are barred, echoes to the streets. No one dares to go out, not even the bravest. Everyone knows what lurks in the wood. So the children are hurried inside. Their screams and laughter are hushed. Doors are bolted. Windows are shuttered. The smell of fresh bread and morning tea is replaced by something else, unmistakable. It's like an oppressive sense of dread. So the village falls silent. Everyone listens. Thank you. So in the woods, behind this thick black firs and twisted oaks, a shadow stirs. Described as a beast that is so terrible, so dark, it becomes the stuff of nightmares. It haunts the memory of the villagers. Black Shuck. It's a creature with blazing eyes, fur as black as a moonless night. Claws. They say that in those hours between dusk and dawn, the woods are alive and whispers and howling of unseen creatures. The very air feels alive with evil, and you can feel the cold sweat on your brow. People whisper about what happens when Black Shuck appears. Some say that this Black Shuck is the incarnation of death itself, demonic hound. Others believe it's a cursed spirit unleashed by some long-forgotten evil. Whatever it is, it thrives in the night, feeding on fear. And so in the safety of daylight, all seems normal, but come nightfall, the darkness reveals what lurks in the woods. Many of people at that time believed it was a terrible ancient creature, staring through the windows, just waiting for that one ill-fated soul who dares to step outside after sunset. And that's how every evening, as the sky darkens and the stars hide behind the clouds, the villagers at Blindboro clutch their loved ones and pray. Scary thing. So it was night, and the clock struck midnight. There was a storm began to reach its peak. The old church, centuries old, stood silent. And it began the first signs with a low guttural growl. Not like an animal you've heard. It was a guttural, deep below the earth growl. Thank you very much. The windows shuttered. Faint tremors seemed to go through the floor. And there were some that wanted to stay inside the church at night because they were so afraid. They didn't want to stay in their home. They felt that the church was safer. And then the unthinkable. From the darkened doorway, a colossal shadow emerged. Standing tall, impossibly black, it blocked out the flickering candlelight. It was in the church. Its eyes fierce, burning with hellfire. The beast's fur was coarse, matted, absorbing the dim light, blending seamlessly into the shadows. Its form was monstrous, larger than any dog. They described it as limbs that seemed to stretch and warp its unnatural ways. Its claws were enormous. The creature is described as moving with horrifying grace. Silent but terrifying. So the beast let out a horrible growl, so deafening that it seemed to shake the very foundation of the church itself. The altar, once sacred and revered, was torn apart. Stones, wood, splintered, shattered under its wrath. The wooden pews, splintered. The stained glass windows, ancient, priceless, shattered. So the thick, musty smell of mold and decay mixed with a sulfuric sting that burned the throat, it was described. The air grew heavy. Now, some saw it more clearly than others, a moment frozen in terror. Witness described how the creature's face transformed to like this monstrous hybrid nightmare. Snarling teeth, lips pulled back. The claws tore across the altar, ripping through centuries of sacred wood. There was thick with sulfur, thank you very much, the hair. And just as suddenly as it appeared, the creature dissolved into darkness. Cloud of smoke, shadowed by the night. Really, just crazy. The storm roared even louder. Lightning was flashing everywhere, illuminating an empty space. So the villagers, they were trembling, they were crying, praying, knew that evil had been unleashed right in the sanctuary. And so shadows still flickered in the corners. They were terrified. Some say the beast was summoned by dark rituals. Others whisper that it was an ancient curse unleashed by the depths of the unseen world. Whatever the truth is, the scars remain. To this day, they believe if you stand near that ruined church at night, you listen carefully, you might still hear the claws scraping the stones, the echoing growl, the faint chilling footsteps. People absolutely swear that they saw this thing. That would be, if you really think about how terrifying that would be. I want you to listen now to some of the stories from those who saw the black shuck in their own eyes. Thomas Harris, he was age 74, and he said it was night, always in his memory. He was just a little boy, no more than 10. He remembers how the air felt. It was thick and salty. The wind was low, and he saw it. It was a monster, like a big old monster silhouette moving like a shadow by the lights flickering. His fur was black, and his eyes glowing embers. He said it looked right. I think it looked right into him, froze him into place. And he tried to scream, but he couldn't. He just stared at him, and then it opened its mouth. It had sharp teeth and a growl and disappeared. Martha Edwards, who was age 81, she said, I was just a girl when I saw it. I was out after sunset walking home from my aunt's house. The moon was full and I knew I should be home immediately. And in that moment, she saw the enormous black figure. It's like a mass of darkness. It's glowing eyes like dark red coals. Thankfully, she was able to, she said, I'm moving silently, and she heard the claws like on the trees that she would described. She made it in, thankfully, into her home. Yeah, it is. There's a lot of people. This is a very scary story that a lot of people swear is quite credible. Thank you. Samuel Bennett, he was a farm worker. He said, one night I was walking along the old country lane, and the sun was about to set, so he knew he had to get home. And he saw this shadow, massive, towering thing moving along the edge of the woods, just beyond the trees. He said the fur was a darkish charcoal, and his eyes were a greenish red. It moved with an unnatural grace, like a predator stalking its prey. And he heard this snarl, and he ran like his words were, "I ran like hell, heart pounding, knowing I just glimpsed a creature from the abyss." The late Reverend James Foster, this was the church's vicar. In his writing says, I was inside the church preparing for the evening service when the air changed. The candles flickered. I looked up. I looked at basically where the woods. He saw this black shuck standing right at the woods. And it was dark, so dense, he couldn't tell where or the creature even began or end. It had feral glow eyes like ember. He smelled the smell of sulfur. He began to pray and it disappeared. So even after the night passed, the horror did not end. The village of Blytheborough was forever changed, scarred by this dark force that invaded the sacred space. So the church, it was an ancient monument of faith, now a chamber of nightmares, or certainly then. The altar was shattered, splintered into jagged pieces. So black streaks marred the walls as if claws had actually etched their way into the very building itself. And many who survived that night to tell an unnatural feeling that haunted them afterwards. So what this creature was, I don't know. It's hard to say when you look at this. It's the black shuck. I would encourage you, if anyone's really interested in this, this is a case that's quite odd. Very odd. The story of Black Shuck does not end with the dawn. Many believe that darkness, like a disease, never truly disappears. It waits quietly in the shadow. Some say that on nights when the wind howls the loudest, the moon is swallowed by clouds, and you see these glowing eyes staring from the darkness just beyond sight. So the beast was more than a creature. It was a messenger of chaos to this community. Came not just to attack a church, but to remind us darkness is ever present. This is a case that is absolutely phenomenal. This next one is even more interesting. This is the Beast of Chavaux. It was France, 1764. And it was the province of Chavaux. It's a rugged forest, remote villages, paths, vanish right into darkness. And it began with screams. So let's do this Insta to the gram. So let me just bear with me while I do this very quickly. Some of these stories, when you read this, you kind of think, and that's the thing we all have to remember. These are people that lived in the woods. That was a big part of their life. So these are not rookies. These are not people who just want to go out on, and find a cabin and then start from scratch. These are people that lived in the woods. So something that they saw, I think, was some form of bipedal creature. What was it? Werewolf? No, perhaps maybe Bigfoot. I don't know. So it began with screams. Sheep and cattle, they were found slaughtered. Then came the people. Children disappeared. Women disappeared. Survivors, they would speak of a creature unlike they'd ever seen before. Larger than a wolf, stronger than a man, eyes that actually glowed in the dark. The beast of Chavaux had actually arrived. So in June of 1764, a young woman named Jeannette Bastade went to fetch water. She never returned. Only her screams pierced the forest. Her dress was found torn, footprints larger than any dog, and nothing else. That was the first of many. Within weeks, children vanished. Adults were found mauled in ways no ordinary wolf would inflict. There was a parish letter at that time, and it was a priest letter. In June 15, 1764, it says, "I pray for our souls. The beast hunts every evening. The fields lie empty. No one dares leave their homes after dusk. May God save us from this terror." As a matter of fact, friends, this was such a problem that by 1765, King Louis XV could no longer ignore reports. So the royal army sent troops and hunters to hunt this thing down. There was a royal army dispatch that said to all units in Chavaux, "A beast of extraordinary strength attacks our citizens, protects villages at all costs. Civilians are to be evacuated if necessary. Any officer who fails will directly answer to the crown. So the royal hunters documented encounters meticulously, submitting field sketches, reports to the crown. Here, a field sketch description had elongated limbs, massive teeth, shaggy fur. The gait was sometimes quadruped, sometimes upright, and eyes reflecting moonlight. Tracks measure over 15 inches in length. And these documents were sealed for decades. But the horror was unmistakable. So residents described the monster moving faster than any man or wolf. One of the villagers said, "I saw it with my own eyes." A wolf? No. Taller than a man, covered in fur, glowing eyes. Another parish letter confirms the terror. The priest wrote, there was a letter that someone wrote. Said, "My husband went to check on the livestock. Screams. The beast had taken a child. We cannot leave our homes at night. The forests are no longer safe." So the Royal Army's field reports suggest something beyond a normal animal. This was an actual field report, number 23, July 14, 1765. It said, "Pursued creature through forest for 3 hours, tracks larger than any known wolf. Gait shows occasional bipedal movement. Attacks observed on livestock confirm immense jaw strength beyond natural wolf physiology." That's crazy. Soldiers also left notes describing sounds that chilled them to the bone. There was one soldier memo that said, "We observed the creature near a clearing. It stared at us, growls formed words impossible to understand, and it vanished." And then villages emptied at night. Children never played outdoors. Fields remained unharvested. One village statement said it comes in the fog, not just howls, the screams, children, many adults, then silence. They don't hear anything, they see nothing. A royal dispatch from August 3rd, 1765 says, "Shot an animal matching description, positive identification uncertain, villages still report attacks. Recommend additional reinforcements." So some believe the beast was a wolf, some a trained pack, some believe it was something else. The soldier's memo said it was no ordinary animal. Tracks sometimes vanish mid-stride. Growls mimic human speech. There were some officers that refused to go on night patrols. In 1767, a royal summary stated, "After 3 years of terror, attacks cease. Cause unknown. Beasts unconfirmed, unalived. Villagers left in fear. Forest silent at night. Citizens warned, do not wander after dark." So, the forest of Chauveau remained dangerous at night. Villagers tell children, do not wander beyond the paths. For centuries, this beast has haunted imagination. Was it a wolf, a man, or something darker? Unfortunately, we just simply don't know. And I don't think we'll ever know. But we do know this terrified this community so much that the military got involved. There is in Spain, this is a very interesting case. Widely thought as Spain's first ever serial unaliver, Manuel Roma-Santa is unusual for a werewolf operating late in the mid-19th century. Actually, Roma-Santa was an unusual case in a few ways. Born in 1809, he had been raised as a girl until about the age of 6, at which point doctors discovered he was a male. He grew up, married, worked as a tailor, and when his wife passed away in 1833, he took up the traveling salesman trade, also guiding travelers around Spain and Portugal. His first known unaliving was Vincenz Fernandez, the Constable of Leon. Fernandez was found dead in 1844 after attempting to collect a debt from Roma-Santa. And rather than face the law, Roma-Santa fled to Portugal. Now, during this time, he unalived several people who had hired him as a guide. He was not a cunning man, so Romosanta was noticed selling their clothes, and rumors started to circulate that he was selling soap made with human fat. A complaint was lodged, and Romosanta was arrested. He confessed to 13 unalivings. But here's where it gets wolfish. He said he had been cursed with being a werewolf. But upon being asked to demonstrate his transformation abilities, Romosanta declared the curse had been passed on, and he was no longer afflicted. He was actually acquitted of 4 of the deaths. Those forensic examination found had been committed by real wolves. However, he was found guilty of the rest. There was an examination of Romosanta by doctors determined that he had invented his curse, and he was sentenced to death. Thus was commuted to life imprisonment on the request of a French hypnotist who believed that Romosanta was suffering a delusion and petitioned a stay of execution so that he might study the man. In an 1863 newspaper reported Romosanta passed away that year in prison from stomach cancer. These are crazy. And the thing is, I think we can all imagine, yeah, certainly, when you got 1800s, 1600s, 1700s, a lot of people might have a lot of superstition, and that's fair. But one thing is absolutely 100% truth is there were people that were legitimately terrified, really terrified, terrifying the entire villages. Yeah, I mean, there's a story of the Wolf of Ansbach. This is a fascinating. This is by Metal Floss. This is a crazy, absolutely crazy story. It's 1685. One notorious werewolf. This case involved an actual wolf. So in 1685, the Principality of Ansbach, now a district in Germany, was part of the Holy Roman Empire. It was plagued by a wolf that preyed on livestock and eventually moved on to eating people. So the citizens thought they were being terrorized by a werewolf, and they believed they knew exactly who it was. Their unnamed, hated, and dead mayor, who had returned to the world of the living in the guise of a wolf. So a hunting party with dogs drove the wolf into a well where it was unalived. Still believing it was a werewolf, the citizens, again, did terrible things to the wolf. That's kind of interesting. There were dozens of people. By the way, for those of you who don't know, there were dozens of people that were accused of supernatural crimes in a series of witch and werewolf trials that took place in the 17th century Estonia. Matter of fact, there was an 18-year-old citizen named Hans was convicted of both being a werewolf and witchcraft. He denied making a pact with the devil, but Hans admitted that he had been a werewolf for 2 years, become one of the beasts after he was bitten by a man dressed in black, who was, of course, a werewolf himself. The court decided Hans must have made a satanic deal, which made him guilty of witchcraft as well. The teenager was put to death. An 18-year-old kid. But this is what they truly believed. So the question, really the question that we all have to ask is, well, do we believe in werewolves? I mean, here's what I believe. I believe something happened in some of these villages that terrified these people. Do I think there's probably a logical explanation? Yes. But I'm also a believer that I absolutely am convinced that there is some bipedal creature that we don't know. Whether call it Bigfoot, or I think I'm more in the lines of Bigfoot than werewolves. There are far too many people who are credible that are seeing this massive 8-foot creature, bipedal creature in the woods, meaning Bigfoot. So could all these things be described as Bigfoot? Perhaps. But I don't think it can be dismissed. I had a game warden on. I've talked about this before. He was from Alaska. Now, he was born and raised in Alaska. He was a native Alaskan. And he lived his whole entire life in the woods. And he knew pretty much every animal out there. And he was a game warden. And I've said this before. I asked him, I said, well, could it be that maybe you missed, because he says he saw this massive creature. It was bipedal. He described it. And I asked him, well, could it be a moose? Could it be a bear? And he said, look, if I don't know the difference between a moose and a bear, I shouldn't be a game warden for the state of Alaska. He's not selling a book. He's not selling movie rights. He was on my show, and he had nothing to gain by lying. Nothing. Actually had everything to lose because, people would make fun of him, and he was a game warden. He was respected. So when he told that story, that was quite interesting to me. That was very interesting. And I listened. That was actually the first time that I thought maybe there's something to this. Because unfortunately, many times we think, well, I've never experienced this, so therefore, if I haven't experienced it, it must not be true. But in this case, I don't know. Okay, so let's get into some paranormal or demonology, if you want to. Actually, I want to get into the, what is that? Oh, I want to get into some articles. Very, very important. Because we haven't done articles in a long time. Okay. There we go. Let's do some articles. We have a lot of very cool articles I want to get to today. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Hold on one second. I'm going to turn this off here. And yeah, some of these articles are pretty amazing. So hopefully you'll enjoy them. If not, well, that's okay. So here is a paranormal news article that I want to present to you guys by TK Randall. Writes, Trump has ordered release of the U.S. government files on UFOs. In a surprising move, President Trump has suddenly decided to release previously classified UFO documents. Trump seems to have become rather enamored with the idea of UFO disclosure in recent months, as previously evidenced by rumors of an alleged speech he intends to give later this year in Roswell, revealing all manner of secrets about UFOs and extraterrestrial visitors. Now, following comments President Obama made on a podcast earlier this month, Trump has decided to speed things up by ordering federal agencies to begin releasing the government files on UFOs and aliens. Last week, he had openly criticized Obama for, quote, improperly disclosing classified information, claiming that he had made a big mistake, meaning Obama. So last week, he took it out of classified information. He said he's not supposed to be doing that. Oddly, Obama himself hadn't actually revealed much at all, initially stating aliens are real during a quick-fire question round before later reversing course and insisting that this had simply been his opinion. He hadn't personally seen any evidence of aliens visiting the Earth. Even so, it seems that this was enough to prompt Trump's condemnation. Now, further questions arise as to why he would then decide to order the release of classified files if he was concerned about Obama revealing too much information. According to reports, Trump has tasked Pentagon Chief Hegseth, as well as other agency heads, with releasing any UFO-related documents into the public domain. Exactly what these will reveal, we don't know. But I found something very interesting that I want to share with you on this one. If you think that was interesting, what's the question? This is even more troubling. First of all, I think the idea of that aliens don't exist is absurd. I think the reason is they want to classify it is because, and the theory is they don't want to cause a panic. Look, here's the deal. You got to understand, everyone needs to understand that if we are having alien life visiting us, then that means they're far more advanced technologically than we are. And that can become somewhat frightening. But you think that's an interesting story. Listen to this one. This is fascinating. T.K. Randall wrote this. The Black Vault's archive wiped hours after Trump UFO files pledge. Is what I mean by this. The site, which offers a huge collection of declassified government documents, saw its archive disappear overnight. Founded and maintained by researcher John Greenwald Jr., the Black Vault has since 1996 offered up an enormous archive of declassified files on everything from UFOs and aliens to secretive CIA mind control and remote viewing experiment. On the night of February 20th, however, something went very wrong. Mere hours after President Trump had announced that he would be ordering agency heads to release all their files on the UFO phenomenon, the entire archive held at the Black Vault disappeared. According to Greenwald Jr., the issues was not a hardware failure or a file corruption. Someone had seemingly logged into the server and deleted the files deliberately. Exactly how someone had achieved this remains unclear. An investigation by the hosting provider seemed to show that the directory permissions had mysteriously changed. Now, on the plus side, Greenwald Jr. had kept a secure backup of everything that was deleted, was able to restore the files to the server shortly afterward, ensuring very little downtime. How this happened in the first place, however, remains a mystery that has yet been to be solved. It's a little crazy, isn't it? By the way, regarding the alien presentation, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but this is from Randall as well. Further clues suggest Trump really will give an alien disclosure speech. Trump's own daughter-in-law has offered an update on the claim that he will reveal the existence of alien life later this year. Earlier this month, they reported on the claim by UK filmmaker Mark Christopher Lee that he had been told by a government insider that Donald Trump had already written a speech disclosing the existence of intelligent extraterrestrial life. Initially, the speech was to be given during a United Nations address at some point later this year, but this was then changed to July 8th to coincide with the anniversary of the Roswell incident. According to the insider, Trump had been adamant that the speech should be associated with the infamous incident, which saw an alleged alien spacecraft crash on a ranch outside of Roswell in 1947, and because of its symbolic association with the UFO phenomenon. The speech would allegedly confirm that an extraterrestrial craft had indeed been retrieved, that alien bodies had been found at the crash site, and that such programs had been ongoing for decades. Lee's claim was met with an understandable degree of skepticism, but now Trump's own daughter-in-law, Laura Trump, has spoken out, claiming that this alleged speech genuinely exists. Quote, I have just heard kind of around that he's actually said, my father-in-law has actually said this, that there is some speech that he has that I guess at the right time, I don't know what the right time is, that he is going to break out and talk about. It has to do with maybe some sort of extraterrestrial life, so to speak, she told New York Post Pod Force One podcast. She also claimed that when she asked Trump about it directly, he wasn't particularly forthcoming. Eric and I were like, oh my gosh, he won't even fully tell us. Maybe there's more to it, she added. Of course, Trump claiming that he has a speech ready about alien life doesn't mean that he'll ever deliver it, or that what's in the speech would actually be true. If he does disclose something about the topic later this year, however, it will certainly be interesting. See, that's a fast. She's on record stating that this speech exists. I personally believe that Roswell was not a weather balloon. I absolutely 100%. I don't believe that Roswell was just a weather balloon. When you start digging, as a matter of fact, we should do a presentation on Roswell. That's what we should do next week. I am convinced, based on all the facts, Roswell was, I absolutely believe that we captured something. Because, as a matter of fact, for those of you who are unaware of this, there was a NASA veteran maintains that extraterrestrial life really is out there. So for those of you who haven't heard this, Dr. Gentry Lee, who worked on the Mars Viking mission, spent decades designing probes that land on other worlds. So speaking recently in the American Association of Advancement of Science in the conference in Phoenix, Dr. Lee expressed his opinion that alien life is still out there for us to find. He says it just has to be out there somewhere. We're going to find life of some kind somewhere else. The odds are overwhelming. That said, he didn't think that intelligent aliens had ever visited the Earth. There exists nothing today that he says any alien or alien machine has ever landed on the planet Earth. He said, if you believe otherwise, you're being misled. Well, I disagree. I think it's fascinating how our technology went from barely able to make it to the moon, and many people even argue if that actually happened, to which is another interesting thing. Our technology, when we landed on the moon, was quite terrible. I mean, you were lucky if you were able to communicate with your loved one, by calling their house. And now we're supposed to believe that somehow they were able to have a live conversation on the moon. It seems a little odd to me. A little odd. Not only that, but I mean, you have television. I mean, the television quality was terrible back then. Most of the time we would scroll. But interesting enough, it was perfect. I don't know. I can't remember the name of the astronaut who said this, but he was one of the astronauts that was in training to go on the moon. This was before Neil Armstrong. And I remember this very clearly. He said, we can't even communicate. You can't even communicate from the building next to us. How are we going to communicate on the moon? And it was shortly after that. Now we're having an immediate conversation with our astronauts on the moon. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? I forgot which astronaut said that, but I've always thought that was peculiar. Have you ever? Yeah, what are your, let's see. No. Hold on. Yeah, it might be Griffin. No, James Irwin. James Irwin. He was a part of the Apollo 15 mission to the moon. He encountered communication issues during the mission, which led to his comment about the difficulties communicating even on the ground. So his Apollo 15 mission, 1971, he said, we can't even communicate on the ground. How are we going to communicate on the moon? And yet, we landed on the moon? It's kind of strange, isn't it? I mean, 1969, we had perfect communication with Neil Armstrong on the moon. Immediate conversation. Live conversation. And yet, in 1971, they couldn't even communicate while Apollo 15 was on the launch pad? Just something interesting to think about. That's all. Just something. I don't know. You can think of however you feel about that, but it's a little strange to me. Speaking of bad news, I wish. Come on, guys. What is? Yeah, I'll do a Roswell presentation. It's bad news yet again for the launch of NASA's Artemis 2 mission. So just when it looked like the launch would go ahead, another issue calls them to stop. It seems that NASA can't catch a break, at least as far as Artemis 2. So back at the beginning of February, hopes of the imminent launch on the mission that would actually see the first crew fly around the moon in more than 5 decades were dashed when a hydrogen fuel leak was detected during a wet dress rehearsal. And after the issue was fixed, the rocket was rolled out for the second time with the launch scheduled for March the 6th. But now it turns out there's another issue, a helium flow malfunction, necessitating yet another return to the hangar so engineers can figure out what's going on. The team was unable to get the helium flow to the vehicle. NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman wrote on X, and this occurred during a routine operation to repressurize the system. Says, I understand people are disappointed by this development. That disappointment is felt by most of the NASA on the team. How is it that we land on the moon in 1969 and we can't even get a rocket off the launch? Does anybody not see a problem with this? How is it that NASA is acting like they've never been into the space administration? I mean, come on, NASA. How can we, 50 years, we land on the moon? Neil Armstrong. Okay, great. But we act like we've never been. I don't get it. They act like we don't have the technology. The technology by now should be perfected. It seems odd to me. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I don't know. If you guys can figure that one out. Oh, this, and I don't know what do we have so much money that we just like to blow, throw it out the window? Listen to this, everybody. Listen to this story. We should have done it when it was here. T.K. Randall writes this: scientists propose an audacious mission to catch up to 3I Atlas. It may be still possible to intercept the enigmatic interstellar visitor, but it might take a while. One of the last year's biggest ongoing stories, of course, every site, was that of a mysterious interstellar object discovered traveling through our solar system, known as 3I Atlas. It was later determined to be a comet, as I said it was, from another solar system. At the time, some people, including Harvard professor Avi Loeb, put forward the notion that the object was some sort of extraterrestrial, which I said it wasn't. Anyway, while we certainly haven't seen any evidence of the 3I Atlas has now passed us by, there are still many unanswered questions about it. Enough to justify sending a spacecraft to investigate. The trouble is, with the object now heading away from us at a quite enormous speed, with no mission ready to go, it seemed doubtful that, with today's technology at least, it would be possible to catch up with it. However, scientists have proposed a bold new plan for a spacecraft that would launch in 2035. Before using a risky rocket boost maneuver to build up enough speed to intercept 3I Atlas. This method is known as the Oberth effect. It would basically work in the case by taking advantage of the sun's gravity, but would involve getting quite close to the star in the process. Even if the spacecraft survived and obtained the speed increase needed, it would still take 50 years to actually reach 3I Atlas. That's money worth spent. Yeah, let's do that. That sounds like a great idea. It's a rock. It's a rock. It's a great big rock. And I know, yes, there are great, the chemicals on it and all this other stuff. It's worth trillions of dollars. I get all that stuff. Oh, okay. Nonetheless, no. This is very problematic. Listen to this story. Friends, I'm telling you, AI. If you have not seen this video, you're going to think this video is AI. It is not. And that's what makes it terrifying. TK Randall writes this. He said, insane show sees robots perform complex kung fu routine in China. It's a remarkable stage performance has this week highlighted just how far robots have come over just the last few years. It wasn't that long ago that a humanoid robot capable of standing up and walking around without falling over was something of an achievement. But now, in just a very few short years, we've seen robots capable of climbing upstairs, undertaking household tasks, and even, as evident by this recent performance in China, performing flawless martial arts. Featuring multiple robots developed by Unitary Robotics, the remarkable show saw human performers working together with the machines to create a breathtaking and unique spectacle. What was particularly impressive was how fluid the robots moved, mimicking their human counterparts more closely than we've ever seen up until now. And their capabilities are so sophisticated, in fact, that you'd be forgiven for thinking that the video was fake. But the performance was very much the real deal. And the event itself, which took place in Beijing, showcased robots from 4 different companies. If you have not seen this, I encourage you to watch it. This is going to take the place of, I think, of soldiers. This is the future. We think Terminator is not far off anymore. Terminator is here. So, and it really truly is. I have seen the videos of, it's startling, where they push the robot from behind and it's able to not fall over. It has a weapon. It uses this weapon. They try to take the weapon away from the robot. It's not successful. There's no question that's going to be used in the theater of war. No ifs, ands, or buts. If you look a little online, these things are here. And this, all you have to do is type in China's humanoid robots perform martial arts. This is going to shock you. This is going, at least to me, this is 100% Terminator. There's no question in my mind that we will eventually, sooner rather than later, we are going to see robots in the battlefield. No doubt. We're already seeing the drones. So we already see drones already there. This is inevitable. It is inevitable. And when you see what they do, it's pretty concerning, especially with weapons. So I've seen videos where there's a company that's building these things to be able to control and hold weapons and use them. And they'll push them from, like I said, push them from behind to see if they fall over. They don't. They are able to stabilize and immediately get their weapon again and use it. Do me a favor. South Korea already has robots, walks the streets. Do me a favor. Everyone, look up China's humanoid robots perform martial arts. When you see this, you're not going to like it. I don't. As a matter of fact, I'm going to open up right now just for the heck of it. I've seen it earlier today, and I thought this can't be real. There's no way this can be real. It actually is. Yeah, this is crazy.
The key is not their size, but their agility. The way they move, turn, and adapt their movements resembles a trained human fighter. Their most distinctive feature is that they can instantly switch from a swift strike-like movement to a smooth to controlled motion, all without losing their balance. While earlier robots could stumble in the face of sudden changes, G1 adjusts their bodies seamlessly. This makes them seem like dancing robots designed not just for show, but platforms being prepared for challenging real-world situations.
Yeah, that's that to me is a problem. That to me is a problem. So, okay, and the last article we're going to talk about, for those of you who are huge X-File fans, I have some news for you. X-Files reboot is still in the works. There is a new female lead is cast, so the return of the iconic 90s TV series will feature 2 new leads, and looks to set to carry on where the old show left off. So when the X-Files debuted back in 1983, nobody had ever seen anything quite like it. Following FBI agents Mulder and Scully, the show quickly became something of a pop culture sensation, popularizing the idea of government conspiracies and leading whole generations of people to declare, "I want to believe." The original show ran until 2002 and spawned 2 feature films before returning to a brief, much less successful 2-season stint, 2016 and 18. Well, this would seem to have been the end of it, but in 2023, Fox revealed that it was developing a new animated comedy series based on the show entitled The X-Files, Albuquerque, that ultimately failed to materialize. But then another more conventional reboot of the show was announced, this time with Ryan Coogler at the helm. And while things had gone dark yet again concerning the reboot over the ensuing months, we have finally heard this week that the show is still in the works and that it will seemingly follow a new pair of FBI agents as they investigate the newly reopened X-Files. So Danielle Deadweiler had been tipped to play one of the leads, though there's no word on who her partner will be played by. So there we go. The show will still be headed up by Ryan Coogler, who will also write and direct the plot. As far as it remains unclear whether or not the show's original stars will return to cameo roles, but there really is no time as far as when it will be coming out, but it's still in the works. So there we are. Okay, for those of you who are listening to this on podcast, I'm going to say goodnight to you guys. Yeah, don't forget, everybody, that we're going to have night prayer coming up at the top of the hour. So we're going to be closing up shop here. But let me set this for you guys so you guys can have it. Paranormal Friday. I'm doing the podcast so you guys can have this right now. So bear with me. Okay. Figure division. That way everybody can have it. We'll turn the chat on for a brief moment. It's sad that we have to turn the chat on just for subscribers, but it's the way it goes. Okay, there we go. Now it's all set. So we're going to see you guys here very, very soon, about 10, 15 minutes or so. Hopefully you will join us for our night prayer. Okay, so hopefully we hope you can join us. Remember, your value does not decrease based on someone's inability or refusal to see your worth. You're priceless. Don't let anybody tell you or convince you otherwise. Good night.